maybe this works a second time, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't work a second time, then we shut it down. Hey, sunflowers. Welcome to the party. Long chances in it. I can see the results of the microphone working. John says the audio works, so we're getting into it. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, that is the light over my head because the bar is in a different place. I'm coming from the bar because we're working right over there today where the bar usually is, right over here. The damn video shut down again. All right, I'm going to try the live concert's going to be frozen. So I'm going to delete the video capture device and replace it with a new video capture device. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then so be it. It just won't be live tonight. HD webcam? Give me the good vibes, baby. Give me the good vibes on the HD webcam. Nope. No good vibes. All right. Turn that off. All right, try this one more time. Sunflowers, we are doing another work night, or a work night, something I don't do very often here because I'm trying to spend more time with my family, like legitimately trying to spend more family time with the family. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get this done today because my camera is just not cooperating. Deactivate, activate. There it is. We have video. We have movie sign. All right. Let's transform this to fit the screen. Fit the screen. Move it where it belongs. There we go. Picture in picture. Oh, I'm frozen. That's cool. Get rid of that. Yes, please. Picture in picture. Get rid of that. Yes, please. All right, now let's replace it with a new, video device. Thank you, sunflowers. Yeah, we've been growing steadily, month after month, about 100 people, 100 new subs a month. A nice steady growth pattern. Almost all of it is coming from shorts, which is fine. I do have some shows that we're planning, that we're working on. Oh, look, it froze again. Everything's frozen now. I don't think we're going to have a show tonight, kids. I just don't think it's going to happen. Deactivate, reactivate, activate. There it is. So that one works. I just don't think it's going to happen tonight. I just don't, I'm not seeing it, not feeling it. The tech is not cooperating. That's completely dead. But I'm going to try it one more time. I'm going to get rid of this. Poof. We're going to add a new video capture device in. This one we know works. This one, come on. Activate. Will it? Will it? Activate. Come on. It's trying. Uh-huh. So it'll go through the onboard camera. Maybe? No. Not even doing that now. Yeah, the tech is freezing on me. It is not cooperating. I'm supposed to go on Bimbo Barbarella's program tomorrow, but if my tech is not cooperating, I don't know how I'm going to manage. I don't know how I'm going to manage to do this. So to answer your question, Sunflowers, uh, we've been steadily progressing every month by about 100 or so, between 60 and 100 subscribers every month. A nice steady growth pattern. There it is. Okay. I'm not going to futz with it. I'm just going to set it to the screen size, transform, fit to screen, move it down where it belongs. We're just going to get to work. There we go. I'm just going to get to work. But yeah, we've just been steadily adding new subscribers each month. A nice steady growth pattern. I get close to 65 to 75,000 views a month now. Mostly on the shorts. But like I was saying, I am planning some longer form videos. I just haven't really had time or energy to sit down and do whiskey related 10-minute, 5-10 minute content bits. I am working with a local comedian named Ramon Johnson. His stage name is Jody Summers. You can find him on Instagram. Hook me up, Jody Summers is his Insta. So if you are interested in finding him there, that's where you can find him. I need to pull that down. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's a very talented guy. Smart, funny, talented. And we're going to be recording a podcast here at the distillery in the Firefly Lounge, which is what I'm working on here. I guess I should just take this down first. This banner, by the way, this rickety old thing, was the first banner that we had hanging on the fence outside of the first location of the Old Humble Distilling Company. It was hanging there for about 5-ish years. At our old location from 2015 to 2019. And it will be preserved here in the new facility, the Old Humble Distilling Company 2.0, which is really the Big Thicket Distilling Company 3.0. Yeah. I ran yesterday for the first time in a million trillion years, so I am sore as a motherfucker. My legs are, my whole body this morning. I didn't even run far. Just a little bit. What on earth? What on earth? That is a screw that is straight up coming out of its place. I have to do something about that real quick. Luckily, I have a tool just for that. That is weird. Huh. Weird. That was... Okay, so what's bizarre about that is it looked like it was unscrewed and coming out of its hole, but there's no reason for it to have done that. Super duper bizarre. Tater Dom's in the house. Cheers, Tater Dom. So I'm hoping that by the end of February, we will actually cross the 3,000 subscriber mark. And my goal for the year, this particular year, is a very ambitious, unlikely target, an ambitious but unlikely target of 10,000. I don't think it'll happen for 100 reasons, but I also know that if I just have one video pop off, so the lower bound goal, the lower boundary, my lower end goal, because you got to have two. You got to have the stretch goal and the basic goal. So my basic goal is just 5,000. Go from 2,500 to 5,000 this year. That'll be a good number to add, considering we're starting the year out at 26. Come on, get out of there. Starting the year out at 26, adding another 24. I mean, basically last year I added 1,500. What the hell? This is some of the most disgusting stuff. Yeah. I don't know if y'all even see what I'm doing down here. Joint compound. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing right here. Getting that out and into the bucket so that I can scoop it and work with it. I hate having this stuff all over the place. It's messy. Everything becomes chalky. So, shop towels are your friend. But, yeah, so that's kind of the goal for the channel this year. Also, I have monetary goals that I'm trying to hit and reach. Trying to get to $100 a month on the monetization side. And I am at roughly $10 a month right now. Which is why we're doing a studio fundraiser, so that I can get better equipment. I get new cameras, new computer. And what I'm doing here is just blending this stuff together, mixing it up so that it's a nice, even consistency. Less like Play-Doh and more like peanut butter. There we go. Less like Play-Doh and more like peanut butter is the goal. Like butter would be great, but I don't think I got to add water to it to get down to that consistency. All right. Game on. Easy street Told you. Oh, hello, Marcia. Hello, Marcia. Welcome to the party. Glad to see you here. Glad to have you here. And tell Jen I said thank you. Because that is a great way to grow the channel. You, my friend, have just been entered into our bottle giveaway contest. Bottle giveaway. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's not really a competition. Drawing for the month of February. For the month of February. And what's happening is I am giving away 3 bottles of very special edition whiskeys. Whiskeys that I have never produced for the public, and I will be producing to give away in our Spring Music Fest. I just switched over our my internet from, I hope, from Wi-Fi to the landline cables. Hopefully that won't screw anything up. So I'm giving away a bottle of whiskey, and this is a once in a blue moon type of whiskey. It is our it's a cask strength rye whiskey. There's only going to be 144 bottles made. Where is my dadgum tape? I'm looking for the tape that I need to put over my outlet here. Hold on, I think it might be in this other room. Let me look in here. Is it in here? Ah, Jesus. Nothing is easy. Why does everything have to be so damn hard? Of course, life is harder when you're dumb, and I am... I am certainly that, on occasion at least. Cars driving around outside that I can hear. I'm looking for my damn tape. Where is it? This is it. Oh, shit. It's literally right here. And guess what happened? The camera froze again. Son of a bitch. All right, let me try and fix this camera one more time. But for real, I'm not going to sit here and play with the camera all night long. That's just not... I think I know what happened. Okay, we switched over from Wi-Fi to landline internet, and I think it might just be this adapter that I'm using. It might just be... I need a new computer is what I need. I mean, it is what it is. That's part of what this fundraiser is for. But what I was saying, Marcia, is you've been entered into our February drawing. There it is. And I will do my January drawing. I'll do my February drawing, and I'll do a March drawing. We're gonna have 3. We're gonna give away 3 bottles of cask strength rye whiskey. You'll be one of the only people in the planet to ever have tried it, to ever own it, to even have it. One of only about 100 people who will have this whiskey, which I've said before, and I will say again, I will never make this whiskey. We're not selling it to stores. It's not an official release. I might do an official release bottle at some point in the future, but as of today, these bottles, the only way you can get them is to come to the distillery or win them online. So you've been entered. And super chats get you more entries. Every dollar of a super chat gets you another entry. Every dollar of a super chat gets you another entry. If you're a member, like Mr. Jiggs and William Hall, if you are a member of the channel, then your annual membership due will be credited towards the towards your entries. So if you're a superfan member, you get 25 entries right off the bat. Every time we do one of these drawings, you get 25 entries. Now, I think I'm going to do it, you know, when we're doing one of these each month, right? January, February, and March. The January entries are closed. We're not getting any more entries for January. Because it's February. And that drawing will be in the next few days once I actually get the labels for the bottles. But I think what I'm going to do is if you win, you know, you get your entries for each month, but if you win, you're out of the drawing for the next 2 months. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want Jiggs and Hall to win all the bottles. Bloop. I want to give them a chance to win one, but I don't want them to win them all. That's fair, I think. I want to give them an unfair advantage in each of the drawings, but not all the drawings. Well, come on now. There we go. So all I'm doing today, I'm not painting yet. What I'm doing today is putting on the skim coat to get these walls prepared for the primer, and texture. And I'm gonna do a basic texture. I'm not gonna do anything over the top. The goal is to cover the wall and give it a little bit of character, but it is not the main character of this facility. I don't want people coming here and going, "Ooh, wow, look at the walls, they're awesome." I want people coming here talking about the whiskey. So, to that end, I want the walls to be finished and inoffensive, but not so interesting that that's the topic of conversation. Now, this particular wall that I'm working on right now is going to have a mural that will be painted by a local artist. I have a few people in mind. I don't want to engage them until I have the wall finished, so we can have a whole separate event for the unveiling of the mural at Old Humble Distilling Company. And that'll be a whole separate event, a whole separate release of a special edition whiskey that has special art on the back commemorating the release and completion of the mural. I mean, we're going to do a whole thing. Goodness gracious.
bewitching hours. um, let's see here. Sunflowers, Tater Dom, and Marsha. All of y'all have been entered into the drawing, by the way. And if you want to see your comment, actually, I had been doing it so that the comment on the window on the screen was the funded comments only, but I think I've changed that. So the next step, what I want to do next week, is the primer. That's why I'm here tonight, because I wanted to have this done this week. The intention was having this done this week, and I did work today, but it was not this work. I did work today, but it wasn't this work. I actually talked with a salesman who I hope will be an effective part of our team going forward. And when I say our team, I mean me. I have the worst technique, but I'm getting better at it. With each passing day, by the time this is done, I will be an expert at whatever the hell this is. Skim coating walls. And I'll never have to do it again. God willing. This is not the work that I wanted to do as an entrepreneur, but ultimately, if it makes the business more viable and profitable, then it is actually the work that I signed up to do. Let's get you inside the wall for a while. I should have taped it, but I didn't. Because sometimes I'm a bot. Are y'all young enough to get that cultural reference? I say I'm functioning like a bot today. That is an internet term. I think it's a generic internet term. I use it in context of like video games, the gaming experience. You know, the audit AI characters, the bots, NPCs, however you want to call them. But in Fortnite specifically, they have automated players that will play against you that are bots. That's the context in which I am using this particular term. Because they're not good at literally anything they do. Okay. Now, to take off the excess and smooth this out. Took off too much. Okay. There we go. You go there. You come with me. All right, so my technique for taking off the excess. A little bit sloppy. But I go up and over. And when I take off too much, I go back down. And I think that's pretty okay. Now the goal here, as I've been told, is to just create a flat, smooth surface that you can then put primer on. A flat, smooth surface to put on the primer. Because after I'm done with this, what I'm going to do is sand it down and smooth it out. And then once we're done with all this, then I go on to making whiskey, which is our primary activity at the Old Humble Distilling Company. Making whiskey. And selling it, of course. You can find it online. oldhumblедistilling.com. Okay, I think I'm pretty okay with this. Let's smooth it out up there a little bit. There we go. Nice and tidy. The goal is a approximately 1/8 of an inch thick coat of joint compound on the wall. All right, next section. Let's check chat real quick. Camera's still working. That's good. Tell him he's doing good. Thank you, Marcia. Your roommate drinks non-alcoholic. Are you the only? Is this a distillery party? Well, yeah, I am a distillery, so this can be a distillery party. Absolutely. Let's see here. Catching up here. You make beer at home years ago out of raisin and sugar. Out of raisin and sugar. You made beer out of raisins? That's interesting. You said it was drinkable, which is a great way to describe stuff that doesn't taste good. But and normally on Wednesday nights I do a happy hour program, but I have not been doing that this year yet because I just hadn't been feeling it. Haven't wanted to stay up late on a Wednesday night to do a happy hour. I haven't been missing it. I don't think a lot of people have been missing it either. Now you can go back and see the topics. They ranged from histories of cocktails to philosophical questions to, hell, even political questions. I did not avoid politics and religion out of politeness. Because I think there's plenty of ways to have perfectly reasonable, perfectly decent discussions about politics and religion that don't involve invalidating people's personhood or right to exist or, abandoning basic civility. I mean, if the one discussion, if the one point in the discussion is, I think people should probably not go bankrupt when they get sick, And the counterpoint is, you're just a fucking communist. Well, you know, we're probably not going to have much of a middle ground conversation to be had. Because there's a whole lot of space between people shouldn't lose their home when they break their leg, and the government should own the means of production and set production goals. And resources should be doled out by a central authority. I mean, there's vast, vast territory between those two positions. And I think that there's room for discussions about that without, you know, resorting to storming the gates of the Bastille or some other hyperbolic nonsense. I mean, we used to be able to talk about stuff like that in bars. I still talk about stuff like that in bars. Hell, I was at a bar just the other day, and we didn't talk about that, but we talked about the last great decade of music was the 90s. Talked about how rye whiskey and IPA beer are very similar in flavor and tone and kind of related in their purpose. Which is, I mean, their primary purpose is to get you drunk. But IPAs are all hopped up beers in order to preserve the beer for a long journey between England and India, so the lore goes. And rye whiskey is a high alcoholic fermented beverage that was intended to preserve the value of marginal fields in what would usually be a surplus of wheat, or not wheat, a surplus of rye grain, which otherwise would just be thrown out. Because it was usually a secondary grain. I don't like this mud at all. This is a different type of compound than what I was using before. It's thicker and heavier, and I don't like it. I like the caulk that is heavy but not too heavy, thick but not too thick. And this compound is just a little bit thicker than what I'm used to, though I've been using on the walls, the previous sections. I switched brands in the middle, and I think this is one of the earlier boxes that I bought. I switched because they were, it was cheaper. It was a lighter compound. And about $2 cheaper. And I was like, I could save $2. And I like that compound a whole lot better than this one. But not only is this one more expensive, it's heavier and thicker. And you know, when you're just handling a bunch of caulk, you don't really want to have a bunch of heavy caulk. The more you're handling, the heavier it is, the more you get worn out. And then you just have to take a break. Then you have all that caulk just waiting, getting impatient, needing to be used. And then you know you're gonna have to pay. They're gonna make you pay, because that's what they do. Wait, are we still talking about yeah, I'm still talking about joint compounds. Go check the chat real quick. How we doing, Marcia? Ever had dandelion wine? Not really ever had dandelion wine. I used to drink a lot of wine way back when, in a former life, as a kid fresh out of college. I homebrewed wine, or home vented wine, whatever you call that. I made wine at home. But I stopped doing that when I started working on the distillery. Because this project not only took up almost all my time, but also almost all my resources. But that's actually how I got started with whiskey in general. I was going to a wine tasting because I had stopped making wine. I'd stopped making wine as often as I had in the past, and started doing wine tastings instead. Because that was a much more effective way to get a lot of wine. A lot of different types of wine. And be able to research a lot of different types of wine and possibly consider making them. Spoiler alert, I didn't make them very often. We just drank them. I'm just going to sit down here for a minute and work on this little corner, this little bit of compound. It's just not spreading as smoothly as the other stuff did. It's going on and heavier. But it's okay. I can make it work. There we go. All right. All right, there we go. There we go. Now I'll come back through and smooth it out with the small spatula. But I also have to remind myself when I'm doing this that it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's still going to be smoothed out, or sanded off rather, sanded down, smooth. So any high points, low points are going to be sanded down. And then I'm going to prime over it. So these lines like this, you just smooth these out. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just need it covered up with a smooth single coat of compound here. A thin, smooth coat of compound. I am looking forward to the finished product. I see it in my mind's eye. I know what it looks like in my mind's eye, and I can't wait to see the finished product because it's going to be gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Plated steel for the wainscoting. The trim of 1x4s all the way around. Stained American barrel, aged American barrel stain. The same stain that I use on my tables outside. It's going to be nice. I have a nice display case right over here. Not here. This is where my bar is going to be. Display case is going to be right here on my right. Whoops. Found a low spot that needs a little attention. It's perfectly nice. But again, doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to be smooth and clean. And then go back over it. Kind of cover up these tape lines. Then I go back over it with the primer. So here's a fun conversation I had earlier today. Just chilling. I've been drinking Milwaukee Best. Milwaukee Best. Whew. Well, I'm glad you found us tonight too, Marcia. I really am. I like it. I like seeing new faces and new names, new screen names across the screen there. Means we're reaching new people. We're getting out to new places, reaching new people, expanding our reach, spreading the word, the good word of good whiskey to the world at large. I need to do a little touch-up work on that wall right there. So this corner right here, I want to do this corner first before I move on, because I want this to dry so I can go ahead and do everything all at once. But it's not quite flush like I want it to be. So I'm just gonna bring it down a little bit. Oh, there we go. Little crumblies there that need to come off. Put this in my pocket, not my mouth. All this is a metal straight edge. It's a ruler, actually. I'm just trying to make this corner flush, this panel rather, flush with the panel next to it. There. Yesterday, Dustin had me talking about crime levels among 30-year-old men and why the FBI doesn't track those in their own age group. We talked about rent and house values, home values, and I actually managed to carry that conversation over with my son, who's 17 um, and about to graduate high school, and talk to him a little bit about, oh, geez, the economic conditions which created the current situation. uh, that boy's too smart for his own damn good, quite honestly. But because he's taking an economics class, and his commentary to me was, Dad, why are they saying the economy's not doing good? All the economic indicators that we talk about in economics say the economy's doing great. I said, yeah, I know. He's like, so what's going on? I'm like, well, the people who are saying the economy isn't doing good are lying. And anybody who can take the time to check can check and say, oh, it's actually doing quite good. And then you just dismiss those people. He's in high school. He's in high school and he knows better. That boy. He's a smart kid. I mean, that was yesterday. Where's my hi everybody. Hi everybody. Who's here? Still Marcia? Tomorrow at 8 p.m. we got Taylor Swift party. You got I'm gonna be on the dais tomorrow. Or the dais. I'm gonna be on the panel with Bimbo Barbarella talking about Taylor Swift. I'm not a big fan of her music. I like some of her music. It's it's fun. I like some of her music. Not gonna lie, not familiar with much of it. I told Bimbo this. And she's like, that's fine. Okay. So long you understand, I don't know much of her music, so if this is a treatise on her music, I'm not going to be particularly useful. I'm going to cut this a little bit long, because I can trim it on the bottom when I'm done. But yeah, I'm going to be on that panel. See, the thing about Taylor is, she is a national fucking treasure. That woman, she glows. She sparkles and glows. She is a fantastic marketer, very brilliant businesswoman in her own right, wildly successful in her field of, in her chosen field of work. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? She is an absolute national fucking treasure. And to think that she would go and date a tight end. I mean, come on. That to boost her career? I mean, come on. That's the most ridiculous damn thing. That is by far the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. I mean, this woman her cat is a billionaire or some shit like that. This woman needs the NFL like I need the ballet. Like I need a pair of ballet slippers. There you go. She needs the NFL like I need a pair of ballet slippers. That's the analogy. The metaphor or simile? Like, simile uses like or as. So yeah, that's the simile for you. To suggest that she's going into the NFL to pluck off some middling freaking tight end. She could literally go, if she wanted if she wanted a relationship fitting for her station, befitting her station as royalty, she'd go get herself a quarterback. Hell, she'd get somebody in Major League Baseball. She wouldn't get some fucking tight end in the NFL. She'd get a pitcher in Major League Baseball. She'd go grab her one of those $200 million pitchers. Somebody who'll earn $1 billion in his lifetime. Somebody match her, level of success. Not some dumpy round guy with good hands, which is what tight ends are. They're round guys with good hands. That's how they're described. That's how they were described to Houstonians when we were transitioning away from the run and shoot for the first time in the early 90s. They're like, yeah, we're gonna add some tight ends to the offense. And everybody's like, well, you mean like a wide receiver? They're like, well, more like an offensive lineman who catches the ball. A round guy with good hands. But, seriously, I've been told since making this particular analysis that he's one of the best tight ends in the league now that Gronk is not there. But I'm like, that's still one of the best 6 dudes who can do. I mean, it's not really a large market, of the best. Each team there's 32 teams. Each team has a couple of tight ends, probably. I mean, Jesus Christ, in Major League Baseball, every team has 7 pitchers. One of the best of a Major League Baseball pitcher. There's more pitchers in Major League Baseball than there are players on a team in the NFL. Major League Baseball is where you get if you're going to go and be a gold-digging performer, you're doing like Marilyn Monroe and you're going and getting you a Joe DiMaggio. Is it Jason or Travis? Travis? Whatever. Whichever one of these Kelsey brothers that is, he is not Joe DiMaggio. Jesus Christ. Let's not fool ourselves here. Taylor was doing just fine before the NFL. And she will do just fine when I hope their relationship doesn't end. I hope the best for them. But if it does come to its inevitable conclusion of heartbreak and heartache and whatever, she will be just fine post-relationship. She'll write herself a couple of songs about it and she'll be fine. He'll be fine. They'll move on. Hopefully, they have little, football singer babies that glow with magical starlight or whatever. Hopefully. So what this tape does is it reinforces the corner and gives me a solid 90-degree corner. It gives me a solid edge. There's a solid edge here to work with. It gives me a good corner. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It reinforces the edge of the wall here so that if somebody bumps it or whatever, the mud has a nice solid backing in the tape, and it brings these two pieces of sheetrock together in a nice, solid unit of masonry. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation tomorrow. Like legitimately. Because like I said, I don't know much about her music, but I'm a fan of her as a person. I like who she is, what she stands for, how she goes about her business. I mean, I'm sure she is as ruthless a diva as any diva has ever divaed. I mean, let's not, let's not fool ourselves into thinking that she's all sunflowers and unicorns, right? I'm sure, there's no such thing as an ethical billionaire applies to her too. We can't give her a pass just because she's pretty and probably smells like peppermint all the time. I'm sure there's an argument to be made for the no ethical billionaires argument, but she does at least appear to be doing more with her wealth than just, funding space rockets and crap like that. She's doing more with her voice than just being a get mine girl. She's making it count. She's spreading that wealth among the people who helped make her wealthy, according to the stories that we get to read, where she, gives her logistics team bonuses and all that jazz. I mean, I'm sure she's eaten a couple of babies to get to where she's at. But from all the reports that I read, she's like legitimately a good person. Oh shit, that's bad. I'm gonna clean that up. That's fine. We'll put this up here. I'll come back to it. Let's fix that. And that is why we do the corners like this, so that when we hit them, as we inevitably do, they hold up. They're just more sturdy. Thank you for getting out of the way there, you piece of crap. All right, and up we go. There's a little bit of a gap over here on this side, which is why I didn't smooth it out. There's a little bit of a gap between the outer wall portion here and this intersection spacer piece. All right, smooth that down a little bit. Smooth it down a little bit. Get it in the hole. And get in that hole too. There we go. Beautiful. Fabulous, wonderful, beautiful. Okay. All right. I'll use this as my painting palette here. We were also, a few weeks back, going to do a painting with a twist thing. My artist for the event went and got sick that weekend. So we had to cancel the event, which is unfortunate because it was going to be a fun event and had a lot of people that were interested. And at least a couple of people showed up looking for the event to happen. But alas, it had to be canceled. Because, you know, when you're not feeling good, how the hell am I going to get down from here? There we go. When you're not feeling good, you're just not feeling good. I kind of feel like maybe if we had more people coming to the event, maybe she'd have powered through. But I'm also glad that if she wasn't feeling good, she chose to stay home because I don't want to get sick. And I don't know of a lot of people that want to get sick. So I need to go check comments, don't I? I'm coming. Because I just went on a 20-minute screed about Taylor Swift. You're Ohio. Well, cheers, Ohio. Is there somebody in chat that I'm not seeing? Is there another? Oh, yeah, tomorrow's Groundhog's Day. One of my favorite days of the year. We watch Groundhog Day as it is an American tradition. And I make the same joke every year that this year we're going to watch the sequel to Groundhog Day. And then I just put in the same movie. And I laugh because it's not funny. But I always laugh as if it is because I am dad. Hear me roar. I was born in Ohio. A lot of people don't know that about me. But I was born in Ohio. I did not measure out the length of. So that's going to be 6. That will be 9. Let's go to the right about there. That should do it. And then I'll trim it off at the bottom when I'm done. Yeah, Toledo, Ohio is where I was born, but I only lived there for a couple of years as a wee little baby infant. And my parents are from Louisiana, so really hardly any cultural influence from the state percolated into my veins while I was there or since I left. But I can at least claim that, you know, having lived in Texas all my life, I am as Texan as anyone else here in this state because most of these people in this damn state got here in the last 15 years anyway, so they can suck it. Very few are multi-generational Texans. I mean, they exist, but there's very few of them. And Houston is where I live now, Humble specifically. I hear police. No, that's fire sirens. There's a volunteer. I'm listening to what's going on outside. There's a volunteer fire department down the way from the distillery. And every once in a while, I get to hear especially at this hour, the serenade of volunteers playing their engines, or playing their siren songs. Had friends when I was in high school who would volunteer as soon as they could. They'd volunteer to be at the volunteer fire department out here. I grew up out in this area, by the way. Put you there for now. But they volunteer at the fire department, thinking that being a fire department volunteer would get them out of tickets. I don't know if it ever did, but I do know that saying you were with the volunteer fire department would get you out of tickets. I don't know if being a volunteer fireman actually got him out of tickets, but I do know that when I said I volunteered with the fire department, I never volunteered with the fire department. It would get me out of tickets occasionally. It was never a perfect, the perfect scheme was to not speed or drive in an intoxicated manner. That's the best way to get out of getting a ticket, is to not do anything that would earn you a ticket. Which is, Jesus Christ, that's like exactly what my dad would tell me. My dad was a postal inspector. Worked for the feds. He did. And he would tell me, look, if you get a ticket, tell me. We might be able to get you out of the ticket. Professional courtesy and all. But also, don't get a ticket, because it's a whole lot easier to avoid tickets than it is to get tickets torn up. And that, of course, was advice that I never took, because whenever I got a ticket, I was ashamed and afraid to tell my dad, because I just didn't want to deal with that shit. Partly because I was a hard-headed, knuckle-headed boy. And partly because I was just dumb. Had an independent streak in me a mile wide. And I was slow to ask for help when I needed it. And resistant to help when it was offered. Because I was a hard-headed boy with an independent streak a mile wide. All the damn headaches I could have avoided. All the headache and heartache that I could have avoided had I just not been such a hard-headed son of a bitch. But nope, I had to be a hard-headed son of a bitch. And I hung out with the volunteer fire department workers so that I could be familiar enough with the operation to be able to say, yeah, I volunteer with the fire department, without actually having to volunteer at the fire department. I mean, that's actually pretty clever, if I do say so myself. It's pretty damn clever. Because, if you're being completely honest, volunteering at the fire department can mean a lot of things. Not just fighting fires, but it could also mean like just, collating papers and stuff. That's the independent streak in me, a mile wide talking. I actually have a 90-degree trowel to do this very thing with, but I don't want to get it dirty. It's over there, it's fine. It's just sitting there living its best life. It doesn't need me messing with it. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry and move back over here. These 3 panels here, this is all behind the bar. This is where the display case is going to be. I say display. It's not a display case. When I say it, it's display. I stress the dis in display. Anyway, this is going to be the display case. Shit, there's that accent too. The display case. This is where the front of the bar is. Right about here. Wainscoting goes all the way around up to the very front edge there. This is going to be the mural. This is the outlet for ice and lighting at the bar. All right. Everything's good. Everything looks great. Everything's fantastic. Very busy lately. That's what makes me who I are. Yeah. Oh yeah, without question. I am very much that thick independent streak in me makes me exactly what I am. Well, pain in the ass most of the time. Most of the time, that's exactly what I am. All right. Let's get this going. This is the final stretch. This is going to dry over the weekend, and then probably Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to come in here with the primer and get that all started up. All right, let's go. Sploosh. That's just thick and ooey and gooey and gross. All right. Let's spread this down a ways. Clean this off. Clean that off. Put it in my pocket. All right. On we go. What was the other thing I talked? Oh, this is the conversation I had today. This was a fun conversation. I registered for a whiskey festival in Waco, and they had an opportunity to give a 20-minute discussion, 20-minute sip and chat talk. I mean, well, shit, I could talk about anything for 20 minutes. And I picked a little topic, and I said, yeah, I'll be willing to do that. This will be fun. And the topic that I chose, the topic that I wrote down in the little registration field, was the relationship between rye whiskey and IPA, just like I was talking about earlier. The relationship between rye whiskey and IPA beer. Most people don't think about this relationship because most people don't think these two things are related. And for the most part, they're right. They're not really related. One's beer, one's whiskey. Why would they be related? Well, what most people don't know is that people who like whiskey, who like rye whiskey, tend to also like IPA beers. This group of people has significant overlap, or these groups of people have significant overlap. So, if you have a local brew pub that makes IPA, and let's face it, if you have a local brew pub, you have a local brew pub that makes IPAs, because fucking local brew pubs live on IPAs. They're like, oh yeah, we don't make anything but IPAs. And they have their fucking neck beards and man buns. And their ironic concert t-shirts from the 1980s. What the hell? Huh. All right, well, that's supposed to be there. But they just hop the shit out of their beers, and they act like that's what beer's supposed to taste like. And it's not what beer's supposed to taste like. It's what a certain type of beer tastes like. But anyway, enough about me hating IPAs because they're the worst fucking thing to appear in America since Columbus. If you have a local brew pub that makes IPAs, you have a market ready-made, built in for your rye whiskeys. Because these guys like whiskey, or they like rye, they like beers that have this pungent smell, strong aroma, and really heavy kick to it. And you know, the historical relationship is that IPA was heavily hopped and perfumed to help preserve, as legend says, I mentioned this already, as legend has it, to preserve the beer for long trips across oceans. Because it's a long trip from London to India. And the ales would have an extra preserving agent to make sure that they would make the trip. And that's how they get their flavor, at least, by having that extra preservation in there from the extra hops that an IPA brings to the party. And in the same vein, high rye bourbons and high rye whiskeys in general have that extra kick in them that regular bourbons and regular whiskeys don't have. And in the same way that hopheads love their IPAs, rye boys love their ryes. And for a lot of times, it's for the same damn reason. Because they have that extra flavor, has that extra kick. Maybe it's the historical aspect. Because rye was the first whiskey made. Hell, the first whiskeys made, period, was rye. Before Scotland started doing it and calling it whiskey. Spirits were made with rye. Of course, they were basically vodkas at that time. Rye vodka, rye-based vodka. Ugh. On your knees, whiskey man. Oh. swear to God, if somebody came in here, busted into my shop, and was like, get on your knees, or I'll blow your head off, I'd be like, dude, how long do you need me to be down here? Because you might just want to fucking blow my head off, because I'm going to be down here for very long. This hurts my knees. My legs are sore. How about we just get on with the part where you take what you want and get the fuck out of here. I got just a little bit more to do in that particular section right there. Let's go here. All right. That's perfect. Another reason I like Taylor Swift. Is that basic bros get pissed off about her. They're like, she's not shit. She's not even pretty. Like, dude, you couldn't pull somebody who looked half as good as her. Britney Spears is hotter. Britney Spears is generic. Don't give me that shit. Britney Spears is a generic, mid-tier, Midwest hottie. There are a dozen Britney Spears lined up behind Britney Spears, waiting to take her place. If Britney Spears looked like Alanis Morissette, she wouldn't be half as successful as she is. Alanis Morissette has more talent in her left toe than Britney has in her whole fucking body. But Britney was pretty. So she had that going for her. Britney is a good performer. I will give credit where credit is due. But if she wasn't willing to put on a red bodysuit or a Catholic schoolgirl outfit and wave her tits all over the Best Buy screens for an entire Christmas season, she would not be performing at a residency in Vegas right now. That's for goddamn sure. The caliber of performance that she puts on is pretty impressive. But she doesn't write her own songs. She doesn't play her own instruments. You know who does? My ex-girlfriend, Taylor Swift. She plays instruments. She sings songs. She dances. She does literally everything Britney does. And more. And as beautiful as Taylor is, she is not traditionally beautiful in the same way that Brit is. So she does all of it without the benefit of beauty bias. At least not traditional beauty bias, because she is a non-traditional hottie bobati. That's another reason why I like Taylor Swift, because she's an actual fucking talent. And not a Barbie who was painted to be successful. She is I would argue, a self-made woman, as opposed to somebody who was drawn that way. And most of these basic white boys who think she ain't all shit would literally fucking give their left nut to have Taylor remember their name in front of their homies. In fact, if I was Taylor, I would be all like, mail me your left nut and I will show up at your frat house. Fucking castrating loser dudes all across the country. That would be God's work right there. That would be absolutely doing God's work. Making these loser piece of shit dudes half impotent. Get that shit out of the gene pool forever. Let's go check chat. Down to my last 6 feet of wall, kids. Who's here? The guy painting is the one talking through it. It was two guys. Unreal close. Oh, the guy painting is the one talking. No, it's me. Hi. It's my microphone. I'm the only person here. Just one guy. The Old Humble guy. There is a Mrs. Old Humble guy, but she is rarely, if ever, on my streams. And I like to think that she watches them, but she doesn't. I don't even think she watches them after the fact. So I can say and do pretty much whatever I want because I am unmonitored. I am unmonitored. All right, that looks pretty okay. This thick joint compound I don't like it. It goes on very unevenly, but it's doing the trick. So, all right, let's go. Now this wall is not anchored up here, so it gets a little wobbly jiggly on me. I intend to anchor it when I'm done pressing on it. I have liquid nails specifically designed for this task of anchoring this wall. But I'm just going to go the full 6 feet across and not worry about, because I kind of want to get this upper right-hand corner finished so I don't have to come back and futz with it, because it's the part that's most jiggly wobbly. Because it's not anchored. But I will have trim across the top up here. So I don't need to have the mud go all the way up, I suppose. All right, we're good. And normally, Marcia, when you see me on my happy hours, I have a flannel, sunglasses, and my Old Humble hat, my Old Humble guy hat. I'll probably be wearing the full kit tomorrow night when I talk to the lovely and talented Bimbo Barbarella and her panel. I really do hope my machines work to log in for her show. It has never worked in the past. Not a single time. So hopefully it will work this time. It kind of became a running joke because I'd come in, I'd see her show, I'd stop in to the chat, say hi. She'd say, Mr. Old Humble Whiskey, because that's what she calls me, Mr. Old Humble Whiskey. She doesn't call me the Old Humble guy. She calls me Mr. Old Humble Whiskey. She's Mr. Old Humble Whiskey. Join us on the show. Here's the StreamYard link, or Restream link, whichever one she uses. And I'd hit the link, I'd go to join her show, and my system would crash. Every single time. It kind of became a running joke. I'd reset everything, turn off my computer, turn it back on, close all my programs, clear my history, clear the cache, free up memory, do anything I could do to try and make it work. Come back on, crash. Or the audio would work and the video would not, or something. It was always something. So it just kind of became a running joke. At least it was a joke to me. It was her show. Probably not a joke to her. But it didn't crash her show, so her show still performed. But mad props to these people who can do the panel shows. I can't. I try. I can't. I don't like the chaos of the panel shows. Everybody trying to talk at once. Nobody having anything to say. And it just kind of sits there for a minute. And then there's dead air. And then somebody goes, so, anybody hear anything racist lately? And it's just like, Jesus. There it goes. There goes control of the show completely. It's gone. I mean, last time I did a show, a panel show, had a guy come on trying to argue. Just random dude came up arguing about the Civil War. Was about states' rights. I'm like, dude, that's not even a fucking topic among polite conversation. How are you going to come on here and you don't even fucking know me, and you're going to sit here and try and tell me something that's, one, patently false, and two, argue with me and I know something about it? Don't fucking give me this. It wasn't about slavery at all. Yeah, it was. The North wasn't fighting for slaves. No, not at first. But the South was. All right. We're doing great here. I'm doing great. I'm enjoying this. No, but that I don't think that was the last one that I did, but that was among the last ones that I did. I'm just like, yeah, come on up. Anybody come on up. Those shows are lost to the archives. All right. I'm getting down to the bottom of the bucket, which is great. I thought I might need another one, but it appears that I'm not going to. I'm not going to need another box at all. All right. Give me a topic and I'll give you 20 minutes. Housing crisis, border crisis, non-Euclidean geometry. I have gotten into a weeks-long discussion on TikTok. I don't even know how the fuck this happened. Some shitbird flat earther, and not to defend the flat earther, but they were soft pedaling and obfuscating when asked a very specific direct question. How many degrees does a triangle have? And I was like, well, on the globe, a triangle has as much as 360 degrees, man, because it's, non-Euclidean. And I commented this. I made the mistake of commenting it, actually posting a comment on a fucking flat earth video on TikTok. 4 months later, like in the first 3 weeks or 3 days, there was 200 comments. 4 months later, I'm still getting comments on this stupid post. That's not how triangles work, dude. I'm like, you don't know how geometry works, dude. You turn right at the equator, 90 degrees, and you walk north until you hit the center, polar center, and then you turn right 90 degrees and you go south. You are going to be back at the equator half a hemisphere away from where you started. Because a right triangle on a globe has 270 degrees, homie. And 4 right triangles. Right triangle's an equilateral triangle on a globe. A right equilateral triangle. Globes make triangles weird. But it felt dirty because I was defending a flat earther who had trouble answering a basic question because the basic question was just wrong. I mean, he was coming from an incorrect starting point. That's not the way you prove. The Earth is round. Unless you're using triangles in a cosmic sense. Because you can use triangles to prove the Earth is round, and you can use triangles to prove the distance of the Earth to the moon, and you can use triangles to prove the distance of the moon to the sun, and the Earth to the sun, and all that other stuff. Use triangles to determine the position of the Earth and the moon at any given time. All right, down we go. Ugh. It's funny you thought this was a voiceover. I guess I could have done this as a voiceover. Maybe just replay the video and voice it over another time. That'd be funny. I don't know why I find that funny, but I do. This is me watching the video, talking about what it is that I'm doing for 3, 4, 5. I don't have any idea what time it is. Maybe it's funny because I'm notorious for not watching my videos after I've done them. I never go back and rewatch. I should, I suppose, because that's an opportunity to research and study and see what goes well and see what doesn't. Because what's entertaining in the moment is not always entertaining in real life or after the fact. It could actually be kind of cringy, and you just like go back and you watch and you're like, ew, that was weird. Let's not do that ever again. But then there's some things that are cringy on the watch back, but they're only cringy on the watch back. It was actually quite funny on the original, and it's hard to recapture that ethos. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the first time you watch a comedian, or the first time you watch a scary movie, and you get that cool jump scare. And then the next time you watch it, it's not quite the same because you know it's coming. And I talk with my comedian friends about something along those lines when it comes to comedy, because you hear about tribute bands, but you don't hear about tribute comics. You don't hear about people who try to emulate or recreate. And the closest I've heard anybody do something like that is Norm Macdonald, when he literally came onto a show. I think it was the Letterman show. It might have been back when Carson still had a show. No, it couldn't have been Carson. It must have been a Conan, I think. He comes on Conan's show, and he just reads one-liners from Rodney Dangerfield. Like Rodney Dangerfield's book. He's literally just reading one-liners out of Rodney Dangerfield's book. And, he said this is what he's like, I've been studying Rodney Dangerfield, and we don't ever give this guy the credit that he deserves. I mean, check this joke out. And he's just reading Rodney Dangerfield's jokes. And I'm like, this guy's fucking brilliant. If anybody could pull that off, it's Norm fucking Macdonald. Say what you will about him. That's a free country, you can. After all, he's dead. He can't fight back. He was a comic genius. All right. I have now covered every inch of wall in mud. Now I've just got to smooth it out. All right. But yeah, the reason you don't see a lot of tribute comics, what I was saying was, before I sidetracked myself, is that comedy is bound to, usually, comedy is circumstantial, situational, and by nature, a commentary on current conditions, current events. By nature. That's what comedy tends to be. It's a mirror on society, especially satire, which most comedy is satire in one form or another. Oh, no, most comedy is not satire. That's reductive. Oh, yeah, that's a word you read recently, huh? Yeah, it's reductive. It reduces complex situations and things to something that's not. That's what reductive means. I know what reductive means. Voice in my head. I don't need you to explain basic English to me. Thanks, though. You patronizing little twit. But what I mean, coyotes outside. Our coyotes are back. Hadn't heard them in a while. But yeah, I mean, most good comedy is like current events type of comedy. I mean, there's the timeless stuff like Eddie Murphy's Raw, Richard Pryor, Live from the Sunset Strip, Kings of Comedy, the Redneck Comedy Tour. I mean, those aren't exactly circumstantial. They're kind of timeless. They talk about more of the general condition instead of the specific condition. But you know, a comedy special from 1980 doesn't necessarily hold up in 2023 because circumstances are different in 1980 and 2023. You know? And there's some things that are remarkably similar. You know, if you got a comic in 1980 talking about, I don't know, Russia, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what would be necessarily relevant in both eras between the 80s and now, since the 80s and now are such a different world. This shit's thick. I just fucking splattered this stuff up here. I wasn't even trying to be careful. Like that view? You're welcome. But you know, music is different. It's not necessarily tied to a single time. It's more of a general condition. You know, boy meets girl, girl falls in love with boy breaks up with girl, boy meets girl, boy likes girl, boy meets girl's sister or mom. Stacy's mom has got it going on. That's more about the human condition and less about a specific moment in time. Which is why oldie stations are just as popular as pop stations in most markets. Not just nostalgia, but also the songs hold up, you know? And a lot of times movies don't hold up because they're like comics, a specific commentary on a specific point in time, and not necessarily about the general condition, but they're a satire of the specific moment. It's one of the reasons why sci-fi movies hold up over time, is because a lot of times sci-fi movies tackle the same social commentary in a different era, in a different way. All right, how are we looking? Excuse me. I think that looks pretty fucking good, kids. I'm pretty satisfied with this. I am pretty satisfied with this. So what's going to happen over the next several hours, this all is going to dry. And it should match the same tone as the rest of the room, I hope. And what I'll then do is come back through here with a big old sandpaper rasp. And sand it down smooth all the way around. Just a light sanding. Sand it down smooth all the way around. I'm going to go through and touch up a few spots that are a little bit low. And then I'll bring in about 10 gallons of primer and knock this whole thing out with one big fat roller and knock it out in an afternoon. Just put everything up on the walls. Should be able to knock it out by lunchtime. You use one of those fatty rollers, one of those fat rollers that's like this long. And do a 2-foot swipe of paint instead of just a 1-foot swipe of paint. Put on a nice coat, let it dry for a couple of days, and then get back at it. Let's see what's going on in chat. I'm gonna come back over here. 80s had great music at a place called Blue Note. Okay, hang on. Great tribute bands pay a lot of money. It's like paying to see a concert. Yeah. The 80s had great music, but my treatise on music will continue to be, and I will die on this hill for anybody that wants to hear it, anybody that wants to listen to it. The 90s was the last great decade for music. There were more one-hit wonders. The 80s was a great decade. The 60s was the first great decade for music. The 60s was the first great decade, especially the late 60s. But then when you move into the 70s, for the first time in the late 60s and early 70s, you have kids who are 20-something years old making music for kids. For the first time in the history of America, you have kids making music for kids. The late 60s and early 70s. The 70s is when they started trying to figure out how to monetize it. They were trying to figure out how to make, it was no longer the Wild West of the mid-60s. They were trying to, a lot of the bands from the 60s were on their second and third records. They were products. They had become a product. They had become, I hear the coyotes again. They're going to be mad when I open up the back window, the back wall, and clean off my tools. They're going to get big mad at me. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm smoothing it out, but I'm just going to go over it with sandpaper. So I need to stop. Stop, whiskey man. Okay, stop. Thank you. But The 70s is when they started to commoditize that, turn the bands into products. The record labels were getting in on the sound. They were manufacturing a lot of the performances. They were manufacturing a lot of the bands. It was no longer just organic the way it had been in the 60s. And we got great music. It was more professional in the 70s than it was in the 60s. So we had better sound. We had better, well, I mean, we had better, it was a better product. The music in the 70s was a better product than the music in the 60s, but the music in the 60s was just more raw and edgy and pure, I guess, to use a shitty term. A shitty marketing term. It was just more pure. There we go. All right. So all this needs to be washed. And then when you move into the 80s, you had this weird point in time in the 80s where disco had died, was killed, thanks to homophobia and racism. Disco gets a replacement for disco. So what you end up with is disco groups becoming rock and roll groups, like Queen, like Kiss, like Poison. Heavy metal emerges, but arguably most of those heavy metal bands, the hair bands, like Van Halen, that's disco with a fucking beat and synthesizer and a heavy metal guitar. It's disco with a heavy drum beat and a heavy guitar lead. A lot of those rock bands, because disco was replacing rock, and a lot of those rock bands were converting over to disco, or rock stations were converting to disco, and then when disco dies, they convert back to rock. So a lot of those rock bands, a lot of the disco bands, just got a little heavier on the beat. They didn't want to lose their money, right? They got a little bit heavier on the beat. They changed their sound. They changed their style. They became rock and roll. Rock and roll would be here to stay. Anyway, but then the market outgrew the record labels. Going into the 90s, the market outgrows the record labels, and then you get into this great democratization of music. You have the regional sounds that are rich and thick. You have Houston R&B and Houston funk and heavy metal. You have all the major cities have their own particular heavy metal sound. Houston, Dallas, New York, LA, Miami has its own Cubano beats. Orlando has their little boy bands. Philly has Motown. Detroit has Motown. Milwaukee, Nashville, Memphis, Portland, Seattle. All these places have their own unique sound that just flourishes and opens up, and there's so many markets and so many radio stations and so many labels that you can create a sound like what they did in Philly with Motown Philly and Belle Biv DeVoe and all those guys. Create a unique sound, and then once you create your sound, you sign up a bunch of artists who have a similar sound as that, and boom, now you have a record label. They did the same thing in Seattle, where Nirvana cracks it with their record label, and then that record label signs a whole bunch of grunge bands, and now you have a grunge sound out of Seattle. Same thing happened in Houston. Same thing happened in Orlando with the boy band factory that was coming out of Orlando. The different hip hop sounds that were coming out of the different cities, hip hop from Orlando and LA and New York and even Houston and Atlanta and all these other places. This is what we had in the 1990s. You had more one-hit wonders in the decade of the 1990s than you had in any other decade in the history of music. More one-hit wonders, and that means what that means is that you had bands that would hit the scene and have a sound and a unique sound, and they would flourish. And then you have a bunch of copycats come behind them, and they never quite top the chart again. They had their moment, they had their sound, they had their unique sound, their way to perk up and percolate through and break through into the scene, and then boom, the scene moves on to another sound, and it was this dynamic, exciting change. We had ska for a while. We had swing make a resurgence in the decade of the 90s. Just all kinds of craziness would happen in the 1990s, and then at the end of the 1990s. At the end of the 1990s, we had the Communications Act that was passed that allowed companies to own more radio stations in a single market. And then that market for music dried up. Instead of having regional sounds and regional markets, you had a national market. And the national market turned regional sounds and regional performances and regional, the mall performers, the Tiffany's and Debbie Gibsons of the world. But that consolidation of radio stations turned it into a national sound, turned it into a homogenized sound, destroyed the regional dialects of the music that we used to listen to. And that's why the 1990s was such a great decade, and that's why radio has not been as good since the 1990s as it has been in the 1990s. That's why we get that's why everything kind of sounds the same now, and it's unfortunate because in order to crack through onto the pop charts or onto the national scene, they have the secondary market down below the major market. And if it's not part of the homogenized pop culture of American Idol schlock, then it's just not what you're going to get. You're not going to get mass market reggaeton. That's a cultural thing. That's a thing that you get in very specific markets on very specific radio stations that don't go out into the mass market of people. You just don't get it anymore. And and TikTok's having an effect on it too. But yeah, the last great decade was the 1990s, and that's the hill that I'll die on. Anyway, what I was saying earlier, the conversation I had when I was signed up for that Legends thing, yeah, like I've demonstrated tonight, I can give a 20-minute talk on just about any fucking topic. And that's what I put for the rye and IPA relationship for the topic that I talk about for 20 minutes. And she said, you can talk about any topic you want. I like, any topic I want? She said, yeah, you can do any topic you want. We've got 4 other presenters. You'll be a 5th presenter. You can do any topic you want. I said, any topic I want. So I could put the illogical and improbable nature of the existence of giants now or ever in the history of of Earth. I can do that for 20 minutes. I can do that for 20 minutes. That's the topic you'll let me talk about? The stunned silence on the other end of the phone was thick, and I could almost hear the gears grinding and cranking as she tried to process what it was. I said, yeah, I did like a whole show on the unlikely probability and the complete illogical nature of the belief in the existence of giants. I could do a 20-minute talk on that easy. She's like, I don't know if that's the kind of topics we're looking for. I'm like, okay, so not any topic. How about I just stick to a whiskey topic? She was very relieved that I had a whiskey topic in my pocket to talk about. Anyway, let's go over here to the picture-in-picture. Who else is here? Oh, Cincinnati did have funk. They're tearing down Coney Island? Really? Oh, Coney Island, the hot dog stands? Is that what you're talking about? Picture-in-picture. There it is. Oh, my picture-in-picture's gone. Let's add in, and I'm frozen, but that's okay. Add the existing video capture device. Okay, that's the one. Make it smaller. Actually, let's deactivate and reactivate this. There we go. That's fixed it. All right, let's get the picture-in-picture up. This is the tiny picture-in-picture. All right. I am looking so much forward to doing the show with Barbarella tomorrow. I kid you not. I'm super duper looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun show. Oops, cancel that. I do this periodically where I have to like reset up the stuff because I had to replace the video capture device because it froze. I really need better equipment. But I can honestly say, Martha, your presence here helps me get my new equipment because that increases the value of this program as far as monetization goes. So you're doing the Lord's work tonight, helping me get better equipment so that I will be able to do better programs in the future. And that light is right over my head. Hang on, what would happen? What would happen if I turned that off? Is that just going to ruin? You're not going to be able to see anything, are you? Well, yeah, it just makes the lighting terrible. That's all. But at least that light's not shining in your face. Yeah, so tomorrow night, I joined Bimbo Barbarella and the panel. It's 1:30. It's last call. It's last call. Let's have a drink. There's my shot glass. I'm going to turn that light back on because I don't want to stumble around here in the dark. I've got to rinse my tools off. I've got to clean my tools because I did all of that. I did this. And tomorrow I'll come back and take a picture of the after. I'm pretty damn proud of what I've done. This is my double oak rye. It is probably the favorite of all my whiskeys right now. Double oak rye available online, oldhumbledistilling.com/shop online. But I have to say thank you all so much for joining the program, joining the show, joining me in this build-out process. The next steps, paint, texture. So we're going to paint, primer, texture, then paint again with the finishing coat, then put the wainscoting down here on the bottom, and then decoration. I've got lighting to put around the top and around the bar. My china hutches to put in over there. In fact, they're going to go right there where that ladder is. China hutches to go over there. I've got lights, a mural on this wall right here, which would be this wall right here. Mural's going to go there. Got my barn door to put up here. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I've got a lot more stuff to do. But it's not a lot of mechanical stuff. You know, I've got the paint and primer. That's a couple of days worth of work. Primer and texture, rather, is just a couple of days worth of work. Then going back over with the paint. And then primer, texture, paint, and then tacking the wainscoting onto the wall. I'm going to have this done by the end of February. So there you go. And then we'll have our grand opening in mid-March, and we'll run from mid-March through late April with our spring festival, grand opening and spring festival for the Old Humble Distilling Company. Cheers. Thanks for joining me. I do appreciate the support. I appreciate you coming by. I appreciate the chat. I will see you. I'll see you tomorrow on Bimbo's program. Good night, Internet. This has been an award-winning production. Special thanks to our member sponsors, Mr. Jigs and William Hall. You can become a member sponsor as well by clicking the membership button and selecting the level at which you would like to be a member of this channel. Membership does have its privileges and perks. Until next time, continue to be awesome to